Oh, thank you so much. That's one of my favorite songs, and I've never heard it sung so magnificently. So thank you so much. And how you hit those high notes, I have no idea, this early in the morning. Ah, you know, one of the pleasures of being a service leader is that we have the opportunity to introduce some remarkable guest speakers. And this morning, it is my pleasure to introduce a magnificent individual, for she is quite a remarkable woman. Now, Tracey Harrick began her journey with religious science back in 2011, attending Mile High Church in Denver, Colorado. And like what so many of us have experienced, she immediately found her home. And so she started taking classes, and 5 years later, she became certified and licensed as a religious science practitioner with the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. 2 years later, in 2018, Tracey earned her bachelor's degree in leadership and studies in consciousness from the Ageless Wisdom University, and she is currently working towards her master's degree while simultaneously attending and graduating from ministerial school at the Holmes Institute for Spiritual Leadership. All of that. Can you imagine? Oh, she is a ministerial intern, and she will panel this September to earn her certificate in ministerial studies. Oh, I gotta tell you, I am honored to introduce to you and invite you to warmly welcome with me, Tracey Harrick.
Hello. That was quite the introduction. Thank you. I should come here to get a boost every Sunday. Good morning, Prescott and online viewers. How are you doing today? I am so grateful to be here. This has been a vision of mine. I've been visioning for it for a very long time. I brought my own pep rally here. I have some watching online, but my heart is wide open, and it is my deepest pleasure to be here to serve you today. And as always, I trust Spirit for you to take away your own piece of whatever it is that you need to help you live your best life possible. So I always start my talks with a joke because I've got it going on like that. I am, by the way, known as the minister with purple hair and jokes because, you know, life is fun and why not live it, right? So here is my joke for the day. Oh, and I just broke my ring. There we go. That's okay. It's all good. All right, so my Eastern philosophy guru told me, to grow in enlightenment, you must live in harmony with the mystical sources of everything. Wait, I said. I thought you told me last week that enlightenment came from sudden bursts of insight when meditating on a koan. He said, well, that was Zen, and this is Tao. So you can laugh, it's okay. You know, I always have more jokes, and my husband insists that I limit it to one. So I will today for the essence of time. But I am very grateful to have my granddaughter here today, and you know how hard it is to get kids to come with you to do anything these days. But she has brought her lovely addition to our family. I call him our boyfriend-in-law, and he's so amazing to travel with us. So I really thank you so much for showing up. I celebrate you and love you so much. Okay, enough about me. This is all about y'all. So today we're going to talk about a change of mindset, discovering a life of joy, beauty, peace, through faith and release. And it is all about mindset. So, you know, I love words, and part of the thing that I loved about ministerial school and studying with my teacher is to really rediscover what words mean. So often when I'm writing a talk, I'll look up the definitions, and I often find that my mindset is changed just by looking up the definition of a word. So mindset is an established set of attitudes held by someone. And so how we move and breathe and walk and live in the world is our, how do we wake up in the morning? How do we interact with people? How do we co-create? I love the idea of co-creation and that you are calling in your new minister through that process. My teacher, Reby, bless his sweet soul, he's passed now, but we often talked about co-creation and how it's important to understand your part in the co-creation of every relationship you have. And that if we often looked at the bigger picture, our mindset would change. And we would be able to see people for who and what they bring to the table, and often able to release and understand them. So just by knowing two mindsets, you can start thinking and reacting in new ways. So one of our, what we hear a lot in our church is change your thinking, change your life. I like to say use your thinking, change your mindset. Because we use our thinking, because if you really try to change your thinking, thinking is happening all the time. It's built on concepts and spiritual ideas and how we grew up and how we moved in the world. So if we start to take the time to notice how we move in the world, then we can change the way we see the world, and the world suddenly changes. Right? Then we live and step into the experience of life, not our idea of life. Our idea of life limits our beauty, our joy, our freedom. Living in the reality and the experience of life shows us that we are already free. We are already beauty. We are already peaceful. It is the ideas that come through our conditioning that limits that. So when we take a little time to serve ourselves by recognizing our mindsets, we can step into the reality of life. Ernest Holmes says, prepare your mind for the best that life has to offer. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, is preparing your mind. I was driving up here like I often do with my my best friend, Fish. We often, wherever I go, she goes with me. And so we often talk through my talks, and one of the things that we were talking about on the way up here was Fish attends Ageless Wisdom University as well, and I said, hey, what changed your mind about going there? And she said, what changed my mind was watching you change. And I said, wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And she said, we get inspired by the people that we meet. And so when we live inspired lives, our mindset often changes people we meet and that we will never meet again. I have I'm so fortunate to have her in my life and we get to speak often, but there are so many people that we meet and we can inspire with one word or a smile, right? By our mindset. So today, I want you to know that having a change of mindset is not making excuses for yourself or for others. It's being yourself. It's learning your true self. It's getting in contact with that experiential thing of life beyond the thinking patterns that we have. So here's my acronym, nip it in the bud, right? So we're going to go through these, right? So number one, N in NIP. Nightly review and recap the day's events. To change your mindset, you have to evaluate your day. Take some time for yourself at the end of the night and just recap any positive things. I mean, I really am trying to move away from the word positive or negative and just look at the events as they unfolded. Don't assign blame or value. Look at it as a science experiment and just see if it makes you feel good, or you might go, oh, that hurt a little bit, and you just write it on paper and you take a look at it. Then you can imagine it in the way you want or the way you wanted it to go. You can re-envision it in your mind. You can replay it and actually change the cosmic vibration of the interaction that you had. And P, pat yourself on the back when you do things the way you wanted to see them done. When you do things in a new way, give yourself that hug, that pat on the back. Because quite often we get caught in the entanglement of needing that appreciation from other people. I remember sitting in front of my teacher, Reby, and I was like, oh, I did my homework. When I first started with him, I just wanted to be such a good student, and I thrived off of appreciation. And he was like, no. He's a wonderful man from Palestine, had a very thick accent. He was like, no, Tracey. He was like, be appreciative of yourself. Be proud of yourself. The more you need that from me, the less you give it to yourself. So take control of your own appreciation and give yourself a pat on the back when you do things in a new way. And then we're talking the next part of this, right? Nip it. Investigate your conditioning and analyze what went wrong. Keep a journal. Be honest with yourself. Live in your personal integrity. This isn't about running away from those dark things. It's about finding someone. It's about sharing them. I think we talked about in the meditation, zone of genius, right? Find someone with a zone of genius to help pull out those concepts that we're living by to help you have some insight. When I first started studying with my teacher, Reby, I studied with him for 4 years, and now he's gone to the great beyond. I still study with him. He talks to me quite often. When I see hummingbirds, he always is in my mind, and I'm like, oh, yep, there you are, helping me along. And now I have a beautiful teacher. His name's Tom Doss, and he helps me every Wednesday at 5 a.m. I am dedicated to myself, okay? And so we get on Zoom, and he really helps me have a change of mindset. I went for an interview, and I was so afraid of failing this interview based on my life experiences. And he sent me this beautiful email that said, be yourself, have a change of mindset. I never looked at those words in a different way until he said that to me. And I was like, oh, how do I look at interviews? How am I viewing myself? Do I think I'm enough? Do I bring my zone of genius, and do I trust my zone of genius to do the job that these folks are looking for? And can I do the interview, much like American Idol, you know, when they're singing up there and the judge will say, you were in your head. Am I going to be in my head to be what they want me to be, or am I going to show up as genuinely as I am and allow them to decide what works for them, which ultimately will work for me? And we have this is the freedom of life when we show up authentically. So take ownership of your fear. Take ownership of your fear. Talk about your fear. Find someone you trust and love and share it with them. What is in here is dark and dangerous. When it's out here on paper or you're talking to it, we were talking about something coming up here that's going on in our lives right now, and I'm like, sounds kind of funny when I said that out loud, like, wow, that's crazy, like, right? So someone recently said that I think I'm better than everybody else, and I said, I do, in my zone of genius. Right? I do think that I'm better in that particular thing, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that. But it doesn't take anything away from you that I think that I'm great. Why would you not want me to think that? Right? So I had to get over my fear of that and step into it and be able to stand up for myself. And when I stand up for myself, my voice is heard. And then I don't try to be what that person needs me to be. I get to be wholeheartedly who I am, and I get to show up and go, yes, and it's okay. And you get to be okay and better than me at what you do. I have learned recently that most people are walking around doing comparisons, but you know, life is about skill building. And if you spend a certain amount of time building your skill, you will become proficient. When you become proficient, you get to be better, but you're not better than them, you're better than your best. You get to have the freedom of being better than your best. So take ownership of your fear. So we're moving in, we got nip, we got it, inner work. We must do the inner work. Here at our church, you can have a practitioner, you could take a class, there are plenty of teachers, zones of genius. Do your inner work. Take responsibility for your life. You get one, and it's so short, right? In the grand scheme of things, it is gone. So do your inner work. Find out what that is for you. Is it walking in the woods? Is it sitting down having a talk? Is it going to an AA meeting? Whatever it is, life is unfolded for you to this point the way it's unfolded, and it's always pointing you home. If you don't feel good about your life, it's because Spirit is saying you are off track, not wrong. Not bad, not sinned. He's just saying, hey, man, back it up a little bit and go that way. Spirit just wants to love you up. And when you make that choice and you step into your greatness, all the people on this planet, everybody, right? You're going to have naysayers. Forget them. You're spirit. Say that with me. I am spirit. That's right. Who can stop spirit? Nobody. right? Nobody can stop spirit. So when them naysayers show up, you just go, sorry, I'm moving this way. And watch all the people show up to support you. You might even find that that naysayer follows you, right? You might even see that they are inspired by your ability to be confident and stand up for yourself. They might even go, man, I was wrong about you. And you can go, yeah, you were, but it's okay. I love you, man. It's good. It's good. So the next thing is name it. Name it, vision it, own it, do it, and release it. Have a goal. Have a purpose. My 6-year-old grandson's visiting, and he wants a pyroraptor. Man, that's all he talks about is that pyroraptor. When am I getting pyroraptor? Did I do enough chores? Is this a chore? I sat with the baby. Is that a chore? And I was like, let's talk about goals. And so I taught my son about goals, my grandson about goals and how to set them. And so now he's like, I'm achieving a goal, Nana. And I'm like, yes, you are. And he's like, I got $16. How many more chores do I need? And I go, $16, it's $20. He's like, oh, I got 4 more goals. I got 4 more chores, my little man. And he's like, and then I achieved my goal. And I'm like, yes. And then you achieved your goal. If a 5-year-old can step into his purpose for a pyroraptor, you can step into your purpose. You just need to slow down, right? You just need to name it. You just need to name it. And then you vision it. I've not been to Prescott very often, but circumstances brought us here more lately than before. And we just showed up here one day. The church happened to be open, and we were welcomed so lovingly. And Fish was like, this is so synchronous. And I'm like, man, Spirit is so good. I've been wanting to come here. I've been wanting to meet all of you, and I've been wanting to do my talk. So I just held it and released it. I mean, I held it in my passionate heart. I visioned it, and I owned it. I went to school. I did papers. I discovered during school that I have dyslexia, which was misdiagnosed many times, and then I was able to, once I heard that news, I was like, oh, was that what was going on? No wonder. And it was so freeing to hear the truth in relative terms of what I made this, that I was not smart. I was not like the other people. I couldn't do what other people did. And having those limited views limited my mindset. I moved, walked, and act from that perspective. Always asking other people what their opinions were and never trusting Spirit to move through me in a way that I allow now, because my mind changed about who I am, and it can change about who you are, because you are what? Spirit. That's right. So name it, vision it, do it, and release it. So we're going to moving on, right? We're moving to take time to experience life. You're going to take time to experience life. Life is experiential. Right? Like when you're in your mind, it's always like, it's not relative, it's not reality when we live up here in our mind. But when we actually take a walk, when we see the hummingbirds, when we smell the roses, you must look and experience life in a realistic way, beyond your imaginings, beyond your thinking. This changes your mindset. It calms your spirit. It lets you breathe. It allows Spirit to talk to you. I listened to this poem recently that said, when she is in the woods, it is the most silent place on the planet, which enables Spirit to speak to her heart. Find someplace quiet and let Spirit speak to your heart. And then don't question it. Act on it. Move. This is treat and move your feet. It's Spirit coming through you, but he needs this body to go do things, right? He needs this body. He's using you. I say the term he, but you know, it is, the isness of life is using this body mind for its purpose, right? For its purpose, for its co-creation, for its unity, for its unification, for its reunification. There isn't two, there's only one. The same Spirit in me is the same Spirit in you. I talk with my hands. Right? And so this is the realization that we all come to, that what is seeking you, what you are seeking is seeking you. It is not separate from you. It is your heart. It is your spiritual heart. And these talks and these centers and the people with their zone of expertise is here to open you up. So breathe. Understand the power of gratitude. Most importantly, have a dedication to your own journey. You must have a dedication to yourself, not to what your mom wants, not to what your dad wants, not to what your teacher wants, not to what your minister wants. You must have a dedication to yourself, to your higher self. It is your life for living. Live it. You are spirit. There are seasons in life for a reason. 1 through 5, develop your ego. 5 through 10, to learn rules in society. 10 through 14, another season. 14 through 18 is another season. And each season brings a certain amount of qualities to you to learn to be the best human being you can be. And sometimes we get off track. Sometimes circumstances suck. Let's be real. Sometimes, man, things just don't go our way. We meet people, we believe them, they take us in the wrong path. We lose jobs, we lose houses, we lose money, but it doesn't matter. What is in your control is your mind, your mindset. God gave it to you to use. And once we realize we can use it, there's no turning back. The spiritual sun will come for you. It will eat away at you. It will gnaw you. It will draw you. It will pull you. It will move you. And it will stay steadfast in you, and it will never leave you. Ever. It is not a person. It cannot betray you. Your trust is to give it to the Spirit so it can move. So, here's an example. Money. It's a spiritual concept. I'm sorry, I have it written here because she told me that I had a correction to make. It's spiritual substance, right? Money is spiritual substance made manifest in form, right? So our mindset about money, if we don't have it, it's because we have some mental concept, a mental equivalent that there isn't enough. People that have money believe there's enough. Oh, but Tracey, that's because they have it. Why do they have it? Do we see the circle here? We see that? They have it because they believe that. But if something happened that cut short their confidence and their reciprocity of life, then they would experience a momentary lack. But when they fall back into that cycle, they see how flowing. Spirit doesn't stop. It can't stop. You can't stop the givingness of life. No, you are the givingness and the receivingness of life. It's flowing through you, moving through you. It is your birthright. So, breathing in. I get excited. Can you tell? I know. So, it's your responsibility. And that word responsibility, I like to break it down to respondability. You are responding to Spirit as it shows up. And when a situation shows up that you don't like, check in, call someone, phone a friend. I am being reminded my granddaughter that it is almost time. But that's okay, because I like to talk. Can you tell? Okay. But this one's difficult for me too. But I have learned my lessons. School has taught me a lot. And if you give yourself to Spirit, it will show you. I was reminded by my teacher because I had this idea that I wasn't smart enough. And he said, I know a great teacher that had no education. I know 2 great teachers that had no education. I know 3 great teachers that didn't have education. Educations are good for skills. The heart is good for spiritual continuity, for the embodiment of wisdom. You do not need a degree. It took me a lot of money to figure that out. I'm giving it to you for free today. So just recognize this in closing. Go window shopping. And instead of saying, I can't afford that, I heard Dr. Teal at Mile High say once, just change your mind. Oh, that's beautiful, but I've allocated my funds to something else. Now that I've seen it, I can allocate my funds to that in another time. It feels different. The universe works off your feelings. We give them names: anxiety, frustration, fear, lack, but they're just feelings. Allow, if for the first time, or maybe the second time, or maybe you do this, but when these feelings arise in your body, stop naming them. Just notice them. Allow them to pass through, and you'll recognize and then begin to be confident in Spirit that it is just a signal for you to move in a different direction. Right? We have to have some warning system, otherwise we'd walk off the cliff. They're just warning systems, right? And just know that these things we get caught up with in our mind about feelings can really stop us. They really make us nervous. They stop us in our tracks, but they are just say, hey, go another way. And when you start to follow it, you have a little book of miracles, and then you rely on those miracles to take you another step, because it really is a one moment at a time. I heard Michael Beckwith say recently, just one moment. When you're trying to achieve a new goal or overcome an obstacle, hey, 5 minutes I went without over talking. 5 minutes I went without a cigarette. 5 minutes I went without a drink. And celebrate that 5 minutes, that 1 minute, and just pat yourself on the back and do it, man. Just do it. Oh, that sounds like Nike, right? Okay, so in closing, I just wanted you to know that Ernest Holmes does have something to say about this. He said that there should be no hurry, no worry with this, just calm, peaceful sense of reality. Let the law work through this body-mind, expressing itself as the experience in which you are going through. So know what you want. Know what you want to have. Begin to know what you want, right? You already know what you have because it's your life. You already know what your mindset is because it's showing up as your life. And then begin to move into what you want, and then believe it's possible and dream big. Just remember, give yourselves credit, please. You are spirit. Say that with me one more time in closing. I am spirit. I am spirit. Woo! I am spirit. Very good. Namaskaram. Much love. Would you like for me to close prayer? Okay. And we'll wrap that up in a prayer. I'll get that. Thank you. All right. So just knowing these truths, knowing that God, life, experience moves through this body-mind. I call it the BMW, body-mind world. And that it uses me. And I let it, most importantly. All blocks of any lack or limitation or illness is removed in this moment. Any ideas that I'm not enough, that I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. We know now that we can have a change of mindset about that. That God provides the avenue and we just need to walk into it. That fear is not our friend. It's a direction. It's a pointer. Greatness that way. I'm following. I bring these ideas into the mind and seat them into the heart, knowing that God expresses through me and through you that there is only one. There is only one life, one living God, and that mind is my mind now, and that mind is your mind. It is here to use and be used. It is here to fulfill the evolution of life and existence. It is harmony, it is peace, it is love, it is light, it is beauty. It is all of these things and so much more that are inexplicable. And I step into the trust and the faith that that is moving on my behalf. It can never be absent, it can never go, it can never leave. And as I build that, my beauty, my trust, my life, my freedom shows up so much more. And I step into it again and again. I obliterate any negative thought. I give it away. I give it to God. I trust my beloved Bhagawan, Ramana, God, Spirit, life, love. I invite you into that trust into my heart now, and I hold it close. It is so wonderful. It is so now. It is so beautiful, and I release these words knowing the blessings that is bestowed upon each one of you, that what your heart needs is taken away in this moment, that what you heard is for you, what you heard will move you, what you heard will increase your life tenfold. The great teacher says, I am that I am, and that is it. That's all there is. With this in deepest harmony and the deepest sense of gratitude and the deepest sense of knowing and trust and faith, it is released. I let this wash over me. I let this prayer, this love, this life, this world wash over me, fulfilling me over and over and over again, knowing that no matter what comes my way, I stand steadfast in the reality of life, that there is a perfection, a seed planted within me and within you, and we water it and let it bloom and blossom. Knowing this, I release into the universe all that it is, all that it shall be, and so it is. Namaskaram.